Hi everybody, I'm Lloyd Loza. Thanks for joining me and welcome to Inside Edera. Today we're diving into the recent volatility plunging the stock markets as well as the crypto markets. Spurred by President Trump's tariff announcements, what does this mean for investors concerning assets like Bitcoin and HBAR? Are we on the brink of higher inflation, or will the Federal Reserve be pushed towards cutting interest rates? We'll be exploring all these macroeconomic factors, and I'll share my perspectives. If you enjoy these types of insights, don't forget to subscribe. Quick disclaimer though, this content is not financial advice. Please do your own research or contact a crypto financial advisor before investing in crypto. So let's dive in. So there's one word to describe the current state of the markets, and that is uncertainty. Yes, markets do not like uncertainty. Since President Trump announced the reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd, there's been a lot of questions in people's minds as to how everything is going to play out. I'm going to share with you 6 factors that I believe are contributing to this uncertainty, which in turn is causing volatility in the markets. So the first factor is that there's no trade deal signed yet at this moment by the Trump administration. And then the second factor is that the market doesn't know how these tariffs are going to impact consumer prices. The third factor is that the markets doesn't know to what extent will small businesses be affected by the tariffs. And then the fourth factor is, will these tariffs cause inflation across the entire economy, or will it just impact certain segments of the economy? Now, the fifth factor is that will the tit for tat between the U.S. and China continue, or will it de-escalate, and how long will this process play out? And then the sixth and last factor is that how will the Federal Reserve respond to all these market conditions? Now, I'm going to share with you the Dow Jones chart to illustrate what I'm saying here. So let's go to 1 month. So the Dow Jones is just an index that tracks 30 of the largest companies on the New York Stock Exchange. So the reciprocal tariffs, were announced on April 2nd. And on April 3rd, you could see the Dow was at 40,545, and it plunged to 38,314. And then it plunged again to 37,645. And then we can see on April 9th, it shot back up to 40,608. And this is when President Trump announced the 90-day pause for the reciprocal tariffs for all countries, for the exception of China. And then we could see it plunged again on April 10th. I guess this is when the tit for tat with China was going on. And then at this point on April 11th, the volatility kind of slowed down a little bit. You can see a reduction in the volatility, and then it plunged again on April 17th, and then on April 21st, it went to as low as 38,170, and then it went back again. So we can see the similar pattern even on the S&P 500, which tracks 500 of the biggest companies in the U.S. It's an index. So look at this. April 3rd, we get a plunge from 5,400 to 5,074. Then kind of it kind of stabilized a little bit, and then it dipped on April 8th to 4,982. Then same thing on April 9th, you could see it spiked back up to 5,456. And this is in response to the 90-day reciprocal tariff pause announcement by President Trump. And then it dipped again on April 10th to 52,268. And then at this point, just like the Dow on April 11th, you could see there's a reduction in the volatility. The volatility kind of slowed down a little bit. It stabilized before plunging on April 21st. And then it went back up on the 24th. So even the NASDAQ also behaved the same way as well. You could see from April 3rd, it plunged all the way from 16,550 to 15,587. It kind of stabilized here, and then it dipped again on April 8th. And you can see on April 9th, it went from 15,267 to 17,124. And this is also in response to the 90-day reciprocal tariff pause announcement. And then it dipped again, and it went up again. And at this point, you could see it kind of stabilized a little bit between like April 11th and April 15th before going down on April 16th. And now let's look at the Bitcoin chart. So the Bitcoin chart is pretty interesting because it looks like Bitcoin kind of at the initial tariff announcement, it kind of held its own ground. It didn't spike down a little bit. So we can see on April 3rd, April 3rd, it was at 83,000. So April 4th, you can see it's 82,000. However, it did crash. It did dip. It was dip on April 7th, and there was a volatility again, continued to April 8th. And on April 9th, it actually behaved the same way as the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, because you could see it rebounded from 77,112 to all the way to 83,112. And then the volatility kind of continued again on April 10th, and then it went back to on April 9th. From April 9th, here's the April 9th rebound from 77,112, and it went to 83,000. And now let's look at the Hedera HBAR chart, which is one of my favorite altcoins. And it looks like Hedera kind of mimicked Bitcoin a little bit, because on April 3rd, it was at 16 cents. And on April 4th, it maintained its price at 16 cents. However, on April 6th, actually 7th, it went to 12 cents. And again, we see it went down, it went up to back to 16 cents here, then down to 14 cents. Then this here is very similar to the Bitcoin chart, because on April 9th, Bitcoin also went from had a significant upswing that day, which was in response to the 90-day tariff pause announcements. So HBAR here behaved the same. So you could see it's from 14 cents, almost 15 cents, and then it went all the way to 17 cents. And at this point, from April 10th, you could see there's the volatility kind of slowed down or reduced. The volatility was reduced. And so, yeah, so this is what's been going on with the markets in response to the tariff situations. So as you can see, there's a lot of moving factors affecting the current conditions of the markets. Here's my thoughts on this. I believe we'll continue to witness this market volatility. However, once the Trump administration starts signing trade deals with other countries, this might reduce some of the uncertainty in the markets and might help stabilize the markets in the short term. Despite this, there's also a significant risk of prolonged negotiations between the United States and China, as both sides seem to have differing views concerning what is a fair trade deal. Now, if this impasse was to continue, this might increase the prices of consumer goods, which might affect both consumers and small businesses. Now, to what extent these price hikes are, it might even trigger a recession, which might then force the Federal Reserve towards cutting interest rates and printing more money to stimulate the economy. Now, by lowering the cost of borrowing and adding more liquidity to the economy, this will increase the prices of stocks and risk-on assets like Bitcoin and HBAR. So I'm bullish long-term and bearish short-term. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Once again, I'm Lloyd Loader. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Take care, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.